Welcome. Episode 144, 2023, Adrian Bo podcast featuring the prolific Troy Malcolm. Happy New Year, my good friend.
Happy New Year, Adrian. I know that we've been speaking a lot, but this is the first time we've gone live to our audience. Thank you to everyone for the messages they've been sending saying they hope we come back this year, but also I hope everyone had an amazing break. AB, we've been speaking a lot over the break, and we thought that this episode was really relevant to talk about what are some of the observations that we've seen a couple of weeks back into the cycle of real estate throughout Sydney Metropolitan, but also the clients that we talk to across the eastern states and actually all around Australia. So what are some of the observations, and then what are some of the things that can kickstart an agent that's come back from holidays? They may be a little bit still in holiday mode. What are some of the things that can kickstart them to get into momentum very quickly in 2023? Because this year, right now, for our listeners, but anyone in the industry, it should be their best year ever, undoubtedly.
Yeah, there's no question, Troy. I mean, the agents so far that I'm working with that are achieving any degree of momentum or results have basically created their own January market. So these are the agents that have scheduled auctions with a January in front of it, that have started calling pipelines, conducting open house inspections. And, you know, traditionally, as we all know, Troy, a lot of people don't come back to work until after the long weekend. A lot of people don't open homes for inspection until after the long weekend, and sometimes not even conducting auctions till the end of February. Well, let me tell you, I think that's not going to cut it this year. I think that there was a bit of fatigue towards the back end of last year, and everyone got into it a lot earlier than expected. And the ones that have effectively created a January peak. And you and I have already seen it open for inspection, some pre-auction sales, and also some auctions that have been brought forward, Troy, that are achieving outstanding results. Now, we haven't even had the first meeting of the Reserve Bank of Australia yet. That's not until next week. And in saying that, there's going to be some agents that are already doing double-digit sales before that meeting ever happens because they've started early, they've got on the phones, opened property, called buyers, and created urgency.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. A lot of activity throughout the weekend. The last 2 weeks, I've been on my trusty phone, my research device these days, AV, and it's constantly looking at agents with open for inspection numbers, not just the rental side of the business, property management side, but also the sales side. Like people lined up around the corner, down the street, waiting to get through. Some of the numbers are absolutely phenomenal, like 75 to 100 people through half-hour inspections throughout all of Sydney. I know some of your clients are at the northwestern corridor, clients in the Ryde and Gladesville area, clients in the eastern suburbs, and clients in the inner west. So it's a really great cross-section of style of property, but also demographics out there in the market as well. So what does that mean? I think the majority of people, they're ready to commit. I think a lot of people are now seeing that interest rate rises, we may have one or two to come potentially. We may not, I don't know. I'm not in that space. I'm going to be watching very closely like everyone else, but the indicators, the lead indicators from activity seems to feel like people thinks the worst is over and they're ready to commit back into the market. So for anyone listening to this, what does that mean? This means that not only is it a great time to speak to your pipeline and relaunch properties or get properties on the market very soon because there's less competition. From a buyer's point of view, and when you're dealing with buyers, it's actually a pretty good time for them to be out there active as well. Why? Because there is that early mover or first mover advantage where they could potentially secure a property in January while everyone's still on holidays and get into the market very quickly. And what we're seeing is obviously a lot of growth over this period of time, both from buying point of view, but also just predominantly the areas that we operate, both within our business, but a lot of our listeners, they're blue chip, blue ribbon areas. They're going to see predominant growth, I think, coming back into the market, potentially second half of this calendar year. So there's some of the observations. I know that, Adrian, you've got a view on it as well. So I'm going to hand over to you and see if that's consistent or whether you're kind of seeing something different to what I am.
It is consistent. I think regardless of what happens in the first quarter in regards to interest rates, which is probably likely to be another one or two adjustments, regardless of what happens, I think this calendar year will be the genesis for start seeing a reduction in rates again, I think, at the back end of this calendar year, which has to be the case because the RBA are very focused on reducing that inflation number. That has to happen. People are tightening their belts. I mean, you hear it anecdotally, you see it for real. So I think that's going to happen definitely. The other observation is that the agents that we've just spoken about who have created a January peak by activity, which has created momentum, is really a metaphor for the rest of the year and a lesson for the rest of the year, which is, you need to create your own market. I mean, the market's going to do its own thing. And is that necessarily relevant to your momentum? Not really. You need to be able to create a market by creating momentum, which is really, if you reverse engineer our industry, you want to do deals. The only way you're going to do deals is to get listings. The only way you're going to get listings is by doing face-to-face meetings. The only way that's going to happen is by prospecting. And the only way that happens is building data. So all roads lead back to prospecting and data. And no matter what you do, whether it's Facebook ads, prospecting, door knocking, cold calling, geo-targeting, database nurture pipeline, it's activity which breeds activity. So I think there's a huge opportunity this year for off markets. I think there's a huge opportunity this year for attrition in the industry, which means that the cream will rise to the top. The better agents will survive. And I think they're the ones that are going to do the majority of the transactions. So I think you need to create your own momentum and create your own market, Troy.
Adrian, you said something there that really resonated with me about creating your own momentum, creating your own market, but actually doing the activity that leads to a dollar productive outcome for you. A lot of agents, they'll come back and we all get busy, but the reality is the more focus we have on those dollar productive activities and doing those prospecting and building that data area of the business is really going to lead you to success. The other thing is that I'd be saying to every agent right now, what a great time to pick up the phone and talk to every single one of your pipeline clients. If you haven't done that, guys, guess what? It's kind of the tail end of January. You've missed the market. Now, I don't mean that to kind of scare anyone, but the reality of it is that people are back. We've seen the numbers of open for inspections going through the last 2 weekends, not just last weekend, the last 2 weekends. You've actually just mentioned that some of your clients have bought auctions forward and they've already conducted them. And so by the tail end of January, they're going to be doing double-digit sales for the month. If you're the type of agent that's come back, don't stress too much. Just means you need to get your skates on, you need to start speaking to your pipeline, and you need to ensure that you've got 3 to 5 listings hitting the market early Feb, so you can see that momentum gaining opportunity for buyers to introduce them to other properties, like Adrian just said, around off-market listings, to really start to build your best year ever in real estate in 2023.
Absolutely, Troy. We've seen it time and again that the first quarter dictates the entire year. So in saying that, no matter how long you've been going down the wrong path, if you have been this year, it's never too late to turn back. And those key activities around prospecting, past clients, past appraisals, and your pipeline sellers, it's never too late. But you really want to make sure that you're capitalising on an environment that hasn't got a huge amount of stock, and the buyers that are looking have recognised there's value. So that's why you're seeing those numbers at the moment, because it's not going to get any better. In terms of representing value, this is where it's at, and I think that's why we're starting to see buyers connecting with sellers and deals happening.
Adrian, what are some of the tips that you've been sharing with your clients to build market share this year? Because you said the attrition rate in our industry is going to go a little bit higher. That means the cream's going to rise to the top. They're going to do the majority of sales. That comes with both the challenge and opportunity. Challenge is workload. Opportunity is you build great market share. What are some of the things that you've been saying to your clients around how to best ways to build market share right now at the start of 2023?
Yeah, great question, Troy. And I've been having this discussion for the last, 3.5 weeks straight, and all of it's based on leverage and marketing. Okay, so current listings, past sales, whether they're yours, your colleagues, it doesn't matter. Like, leverage off either your listings, your sales, or your office's listings and sales. And a lot of that, Troy, has to do with geo-targeting. Now, geo-targeting can be cold calling, it could be door knocking, it could be your database, it could be anything, but make sure that you're capitalizing on listings, sales. That way, there's a reason to speak to people. You're adding value every time you're speaking to people. And honestly, each time you're creating one of those touch points, I don't think you even necessarily have to ask, are you selling? I think you just make the call, do the door knock, and contact people around your database for the listings and sales, and literally let them know, this property just came on the market. How do you think it affects yours? This property just sold. How do you think it affects yours? Oh, look, we're still not looking to, no problem at all. I just thought I'd, as a courtesy, let you know so I can provide some value for every conversation I have with you. Do you mind if I call you in 3 or 4 months' time to let you know? That's it. Because otherwise it's going to sound a little ad nauseum. It's like, well, what are your plans? Have you changed, any? I don't think it's necessary. Add value, add value. When the time comes, you're going to be top of mind because you're the trusted advisor that's provided intelligent, pragmatic information at the time.
I love the fact that every single call that you're telling your clients right now, Adrian, has a purpose. That you're adding value. It's a purpose of the call is to let you know that there's one sold. The purpose of the call is to let you know there's one listed. How does that affect your property? How do you think that affects the value of your home? Like you said, if they're not a yes now, they will potentially be a yes in the next 3, 5, 7, 20, 25 years. And let's face it, a lot of our listeners right now, Adrian, this is their only choice. This is their career that they're choosing to work with. This is the career that they're actually choosing to do a lot of their stuff and work along those guidelines, that this is their career of choice, and they're going to be in it for many, many decades to come. So this is the chance for our clients, everyone that's listening to this episode, to make sure that you're covering off past clients, nurture clients, pipeline clients, get on the front foot and make sure you've got those listings secured. The second part of that is to make sure that you're adding value and the purpose of your call is always met with the next action and the follow-up. Adrian, this is episode number 144. We are getting closer to the 150 mark. I'm excited by that. We are coming back weekly. So for everyone that has been sending inquiries, both on my Instagram account, Adrian's Instagram account, we are coming back weekly. So we have finally agreed to that. We are coming back to you weekly. So make sure that you send through your questions, any challenges that you're having, any issues. Not only do we get a great insight into the way that we do business on the weekend and with our clients, but also the greater community as well. We've both been in the industry for many, many decades now, and we have access to some of the brightest minds in real estate throughout Australasia. So if you have any of those questions, any of those challenges, that is our purpose for you, is to answer those, overcome those, and also share some of the insights that we're seeing on a weekly basis. AB, as always, I no doubt will speak to you multiple times throughout today and over the next week. To all the listeners, thanks so much for tuning in. Great to see you all back again for 2023. This is a year that you do see change, significant change. It will be a turning point. You will see and have your best year ever if you follow the process and stick to those great outcomes that we know you've achieved over the past couple of years. Thanks again for joining us. Until next week, AB, we'll see you all again for episode number 145. Coming to you soon.
Thanks, listeners. Thanks, Troy.